Grace.
Good morning, Erin.
So Grace and I had an amazing call with one of our friends who you have all seen on here yesterday, Nicole, and let us be the first to tell you that something cool this way comes. Timeline, we don't have anything else, but we're working on some cool plans together.
Yeah, great.
And I think we can say that. Can we say that?
Oh
I
yeah,
said it. So
yeah. I mean, cat's already out of the bag. You just don't know what kind of cat it is.
we just don't know what kind of cat it is, what the bag even looked like, where we released him.
But we promise it will be very cool.
It will be very cool. But in the meantime, while we are getting excited about that, there's something else that's going on right now, and that is launching Whomp Whomp to Wow. Doors to the August cohort open next week. So if you want to get your website done this quarter, this is the time to do it. And when I say done, let's be very clear. This is the writing part. There's some resources available to help you do the designing part, or you can take the copy to a designer, or you can do it yourself if you are a multi-talented unicorn of a human. Not that we expect that of you, because it's a lot to expect. But the fact of the matter is, writing your own website is really hard. It's extremely, extremely hard, because it's like, I do this for other people, I should be able to do it for myself. And so the beta program launched almost exactly a year ago, and Grace was part of. Were you part of the beta, or were you part of the second round? You're part of the beta.
Yeah.
So she got to see like how this has evolved from the inside out. And so thank you for coming today, by the way. And Grace, by the way, is a course strategist and copywriter, and she does some really cool stuff. And she's helped people have amazing, amazing, amazing success with their courses. So what I invited her to do today was to come on and tell us a little bit about what her experience with Whomp Whomp to Wow is, and what it has allowed her to do, and how it's giving her the tools to continually pivot and revamp. So tell me, I'm just going to turn it loose, and then I may interrupt you, as I'm prone to do, with some questions.
Yeah, feel free. But thanks for having me on again. I think you should start offering like frequent flyer miles for your show, because I think I've been on a few times now. So
I think you're number 3. Is this number 3?
I think so. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, where do I start? So I guess like before I joined your beta program, I guess like really what I was struggling with was that my website was really not doing anything for me. Like it was literally just something that I had muddled through and cobbled together on my own. It was literally like, trying to build a house out of matchsticks. It was, let's be real, it was really, really crappy. It didn't do anything for me. I was not getting any leads or anything whatsoever from my website. So, and for me, the problem was obviously not that I can't write. The problem was I'm not a website copywriter, so I didn't know really what the flow of my website should be like, what needs to go where, how it should be kind of structured. Other than, oh, I need to have a home page, I need an about page, I need a services page and a contact page. I knew I needed those, but I didn't know what should be on each page. And really what was cool about Whomp Whomp to Wow is that with each module that you would put together, it basically gave me a complete outline for every single page that I needed for my site. And for somebody like me, what I really needed was the structure. I didn't need somebody to tell me how to write it. I just needed somebody to tell me like, okay, this is like a framework of what you need to go where on each page.
That's like how to turn each page into a story.
Yeah.
Cool. That's really helpful to know. Like,
yeah,
we've talked about this multiple times, and every time you tell the story a little bit differently. So it's really valuable to me. So thank you.
Well, I mean, and like I was saying in your training the other day, like what I found really, really helpful is that with all of the, every module that you put together has like, you have the outline page, like the your Mad Libs type. What do you call it? Your Mad Libs worksheet, and
Mad Libs USP.
That's it. Thank you. And just the way that you had structured it. By the time I was done filling out the all of the questions and little placeholders and whatnot, I ended up having like basically almost a completely done web page copy situation going on.
A web page copy situation.
I'm sorry, I can't words today. I haven't had coffee this morning.
Yeah, you literally are speaking my language.
Yeah. But it was really cool. Like, it just ended up being like, holy crap. Like, I just did this worksheet and I copied and pasted it into, my not a wireframe thing.
My favorite tool ever.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, this is like basically already done. I just have to do like a little bit of tweaking here and there and, fleshing out a few things and making, my own modifications. But I'm like, this is basically done already. I'm like, holy crap. Like, that was really, really cool. And I think that was like, I think I sent you a message at like, I think 11 o'clock at night when I was doing this. I'm like, hey, I finally got time to do this. And holy crap, this is amazing. So
I think I was like actually in the car because I was on the way to my aunt's house.
Yes.
It was like midnight and we're texting back and forth.
Yeah.
Drive through Chicago at night because
yeah, for me that really is what stood out to me. And like what I also loved is that you don't just tell people how to, make the copy, you tell people what to do with it after, right? You have a whole like bonus that tells people what to do to create a launch plan for their website. So it's not just gonna like die a slow death.
I have this copy, what do I do with it?
Yeah,
how do I implement it?
Yeah. So I just think that it's a really, really valuable thing. And I always kind of feel silly and like slightly imposter syndrome saying like that I was having trouble with my web copy. But I think that what copywriters need to understand is that you can't be expected to know how to write every single kind of copy ever, right? Like, that web copy is not my area of specialty. But by the time I was done with your program, I'm like, you know what? If I really, really wanted to, I probably could offer this as a service now. Just because it was so educational, like what you had done, and it was so easy to apply.
So I think I have questions, I have thoughts, and I'm trying to formulate them. I think, that it is not meant to be done like as a theoretical course. It is meant to be done hands-on, get results now. But let's say that you are not ready to do your website, but you have a client website that you're doing, or maybe your company is trying to revamp your website and it falls to you and you're like, where do I start?
Yeah.
Do you think it would give those people the tools to do client work or do their own businesses? Not like their own businesses, but their jobs.
I think so. I mean, I would say that the way that the course was structured, I would say I wouldn't want to use that specific formula for like a giant like corporate website.
No.
Yeah. No, it would be more for like, like a small business, maybe like a service provider kind of website situation, not a big corporation or somebody who's offering like maybe like e-commerce, that kind of thing. I don't know if I would use it for that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. It could be. I think it is targeted towards my ideal client, which is either tech, SaaS, a tech-driven service like accounting, small businesses under 25 people, or conversely, super high-end products. Like we've used it with hot tubs, with we use it with home builders. Like I've used the structure for home builders, but those are again businesses that are 25 people or less typically. So that's really an interesting observation from your end. Because now what I'm wondering is, well, this is a conversation we can have later because I'm going down rabbit holes that aren't necessarily conducive to this conversation. But I think you're right. It is for generally speaking service providers, high-end retailers, SaaS type companies. But it is also for people who already are decent writers. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to. You don't have to be able to write perfectly by any means, but you have to be able to convey and communicate your ideas in the written word pretty concisely. So if that is not something that you consider a strength, first, I'd ask you to consider why you don't consider it a strength, because a lot of people are great communicators in writing and they don't own it. But we could always have a conversation, right? I'm volunteering Grace for this, but Caitlin said that she would be happy to have a conversation as well about her experience.
Yeah.
So
what you have to do is shoot me a message or like put a question in the comments down below, and yeah, I'm happy to answer whatever you need. But I know, like, I was able to, like, I've written my website with it. I helped my husband write his website using the formula. Hopefully that's okay.
Yeah, of course. You have less. I don't even have words here, right? But it is the idea that we're teaching the idea.
Yeah.
Once you go through it once, you can absolutely apply it forward. All that I ask is that people don't sell my templates.
Oh,
because they are my templates, which I know you would never do. So that's absolutely, like, you can go through it. You can go through it multiple times. Or on the flip side of that, what's particularly interesting to me is that if you're like, okay, I have a website, I'm going to do it now, but in 6 months, I want to come back and redo it. You can add on just the cohort portion of this. You've already been through the training. So if you wanted to come in and get team group feedback from everyone, you could rejoin a cohort for a very, very small fee to get the value of that group. You know what I mean? So it's not like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've been through this, but my whole business has changed, because that never ever happens to us as entrepreneurs, where we totally pivot and change and go into what was previously left field. So I think there's a lot of value for that. But if you already know what you want to do and how to convey it, why not? Why not just use the same process again?
Yeah. I mean, I used, I've edited and made tweaks to my website a few times since last year, right? Because like you said, things change. My offers look different now. And I just found it really, really easy to use, very, very practical. And you could use it times infinity, you know?
Really? I mean, really, you could. Yeah. So what, and by the way, if anyone's listening, and whether like down the road after this cohort has started, whatever that looks like for you, at any point, if you're like, is this for me or is this not for me? Ping me. Feel free to ask me and I will give you my honest opinion. And I've told a few people that it might not be for them. So I will, be very honest, but also kind, which is kind of the hallmark of the program, because it's all about figuring out what you've done that's really working, kind of poking some holes in it and saying, this is good. I think we could be even more specific. I think we could be even clearer. I think, let's talk through this, because a lot of the worksheets are about reverse engineering.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much Grace. I think some, because you joined me on the webinar last week. But I have retooled the structure just a little bit. And that is that instead of an introductory module that is more informational, where you're just taking information and I say just working out your unique selling point. But instead, now the introductory module is step 1 of the course. So step 1 is onboarding yourself as a client. So you really can put that client hat on and go through and onboard yourself, so that you're not trying to think of yourself. It's like you can almost think of yourself in the third person by doing it this way.
I honestly think that's what you should do when you're writing for yourself, because for me, like, I have so much trouble writing for myself. So I almost had to force myself to put on that third party hat. And the way that you had structured the course allowed me to do that. So I can only imagine, like, I haven't been through it since you've updated it, because my website's already done, but I can only imagine that it's gotten better, right?
Right. Well, I think so. I hope so. It's my intention.
Of course.
But yeah, and so that first step culminates in creating a copy deck, so that you can take all the information that you have kind of put together and getting the right mindset and condense it into a copy deck, so that you can keep things, concise. And then step 2 is creating your own page. Step 3 is about. Step 4 is services. So
that's so cool. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking some time to join me. My last question for you before we, we rush off into the sunset is, or sunrise, I don't know, bad metaphor.
For me, it's more house cleaning.
Yeah, rush off into house cleaning. Is really like, what has it allowed you to do in your business?
For me, it's allowed me to get more leads. I've had more leads since I've redone my website in the entire, like, I want to say, like I said, it's been about a year, I think, since I've done this. I was able to send it right off to my designer. My website was finally complete, I want to say, in October. Sorry, the last year is kind of a blur, so bear with me.
Last year is kind of a blur, so I get that.
But yeah, like in that, like 9 months now or whatever, I've had more leads than I have in the entire time that I've had my business before then, and it gave me a website that I'm not embarrassed to show people, like I know that it doesn't suck.
Well, I think that's part of it. And so if I can extrapolate some things here, I think that probably you're also sharing at more places as a result. So it's driving more traffic back because you're not like, here's my website, I'm sorry, it's a work in progress, blah, 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 and you're not apologizing for your own work. But also it's like, hey, if you want to learn more about me, go to my website. By the way, Grace's website is linked in the comments.
Thank you.
But lost my train of thought mid-sentence. But I think that is an incredible power. I think a lot of people come in and they're like, they have this idea of what they want to do and what their services are. And then it's like, maybe this isn't the direction that I actually want to go, when they start to think about their why and the benefits and what they want to portray. Or if they do, it allows them to refine their ideas even further. And then like you said, they're proud of it. They're proud of what they've done. And it doesn't mean that it has to be static. It doesn't mean that it has to be forever, but it's about taking action and getting it done. Like, as opposed to just thinking about it and iterating and iterating and iterating and not actually doing anything with it.
Oh yeah. And beyond that, I mean, it's allowed me to have more authority in my niche in course creation and launch copywriting. It's also, boosted my revenue directly. I can't express enough how much a good website can impact your business in a positive way, for sure. I was able to start a blog. I mean, that part isn't in Whomp Whomp to Wow, but starting my own blog, right?
It could be a future piece. We can talk about content strategy. Yeah,
sure. But yeah, like maybe more of like further ideas of what you could do with your website, like launching a blog, launching like a digital product store kind of thing. Yeah, like just stuff like that. It's opened up more opportunities for expanding on the work that you've helped me put together, right? And that directly ties in with more leads and more revenue, for sure, and more authority.
And it's hard to quantify that in terms of ROI, because confidence, how can you quantify confidence? How can you quantify that? I mean, you can quantify leads compared with before, but someone was like, well, how can you do this? And it's like, it's very difficult, because if you're not sharing your website with people, of course it's not going to get you leads.
Yeah.
But if you're sharing it and people know, and you're talking about what you do, there's so much to do. So
yeah, I have people all the time still telling me that they love my website. So, I mean, obviously we did something right.
I think you did a lot right, Grace. I think and it's always really fun to me to watch as people go through this and to see the transformation from how they come in before describing themselves and their goals to where they land at the end. Mm-hmm. And it's also a transformation that's very, very difficult to quantify.
Yeah.
But sure, it's like, now you have all these talking points and they're sticky and chewy and delightful. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, Grace. And Grace is amazing in what she does. I know what I think you do, but go ahead and give your piece, because if you are working on a course, I highly recommend working with Grace.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, I help, my primary my primary client is the other copywriters, helping them launch like digital products and whatnot. Yeah, I believe I helped you a little bit with the first beta round, like I did like an audit for you. Yeah, I firmly believe in launching products as a way to build a copywriting business. So if that's something, that you might need help with or want some advice on, like I'm always around. I'm very, very easy to find intentionally. And
aren't we all? Yes.
yeah, I mean, we should be. But anyway, yeah, that's what I do. I help with copy. I help with strategy, implementation, even on the tech side. So anything that you need help with, yeah, just drop me a line.
Awesome. And Grace's information is here in the introduction. So be sure to check her out. And I am super excited to
Me too.
see how the future comes together for both of us. Thank you again.
And we'll have to have me on the show again here to talk about our cat when it's finally out of the bag.
Yeah. And it has all the fur and yeah, anyway, that I'm getting.
All right, everyone.